The humble boilie, one of the most widely used baits, not just in England, but across the whole of Europe as well. We sort of take it for granted, but how do they actually make it? Why is it so good? What happens with that process? Behind me is a very interesting place, and I'm about to find out. So this is the start of the process. Lots of things that are very interesting behind me, and another interesting thing by the side of me. This is Dave Spence, the guru of everything boilie. So, talk to me about what's behind us. There's lots of stuff.
Yeah, there is a lot of stuff. This is our yard storage area, and this is where all of our raw ingredients are brought onto site that we make our boilies, ground baits, and every other product that we make on site out of everything you see in here, basically.
I'm looking at this for a start. This is Antarctic krill meal.
Yeah.
There's also a hole in the top, so I'm just going to dip my hand in the top of there and have a look at what we've got here. This looks absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So this is a krill extract, but a bit like a fish meal really, but it comes from krill. Real rich sort of golden colour, absolutely stinks, really oily as well, high in protein content, so it's a great additive to add to baits.
Why is it so good? Loads of people are raving about krill. Why?
It's just really attractive to the fish, and it kicks out loads of amino acids into the water, and it's really digestible. It adds a different sort of complex and property to the baits you're making.
Fantastic. Now there's another fish meal. I'll try and get that back in there without spilling it everywhere. There's another fish meal that we hear so much about, and that is LT94. Yep. What does LT, what does 94 stand for? Why is it so good?
So your LT94 it's the process in which the fish meal is created, and basically it's treated at a lot lower temperature than other fish meals, which basically means that the fish meal retains its protein content to a higher degree than other fish meals do.
Right, so you've got all of your ingredients. You've also got your recipes, which sadly we're not going to be able to show you because obviously trade secrets. What happens next? How does it go to the next stage?
I'll take you next door and I'll show you where the magic happens. So this is the next stage. This is one of our 3 mixers on site, and basically all of the raw ingredients on the recipe sheet have been placed into this spiral mixer, which mixes all the ingredients together, and after a period of time the mix is dropped out over a series of sieves depending on how we want to grade the product coming out of the mixer. This is a ground bait coming off at the moment, but the base mixers are made exactly the same as this.
It's quite interesting actually seeing it. So through the hopper, down the grader, mix goes into the bag, waste goes out the other side.
That's right.
Sorted.
Yeah, exactly. So we separate it to whatever we want to separate. If we're making a large product and want to get rid of the fine powders that are in it, we collect the coarser ingredients on the left-hand side and vice versa.
What sort of tonnage can you do with this then? I see computers.
Yeah, so this will hold, it's a 2-ton mixer. We try to keep it to 1.8 tons generally to get the mix really thorough. I feel if you overload it a little bit, sometimes you can get dead spots in the mixer. So we drop out 1.8 ton, and the computers calculate the weight remaining in the mixer and the weight in the dumpy bag.
Wow, that's amazing. So we've got 320 to 330 kilos over there, and we got 515 odd kilos on the other side.
So that would have been a slightly smaller mix, or the second lot of a bigger mix, because obviously the dumpy bags don't hold a full 2 ton. So basically the base mixers are delivered to this area just here, placed into this bin, and then they get taken upstairs via the auger into a bin on the floor above the boilie production line. So the white pipe running across the ceiling there is the pipe that takes the base mix from the bin outside that we've just looked at, and it takes it into the bin up in the roof just there, and then that feeds the boilie machines in this room that we're stood in now. A lot of the baits that we produce, the colour comes from the base mix and the ingredients in the base mix itself. Spirulina, for example, or some of these spices, etc. However, if we want to make a bait that's a little bit more vibrant, we will actually add a colourant to them. These are all food grade colourants that we add to the baits if we need to add any, and everything's weighed out super accurately on the scales, extraction system in place to take out any airborne particles. So this is the mixing stage. So the base mix is dropped into each one of the mixers just here at the quantity that the guys call for via the computer system. Any liquid additives are added along with the egg, which is then mixed into a paste and loaded into the boiling machine on the left hand side.
And what sort of quantity is coming through then? You've got 3 mixers running?
Yeah, each mixer will hold around about 100 kilos of paste at a time. And then the machine that they're actually running the boilies through has the capacity to run around about 2 ton a day.
So basically the paste is being pushed into the top there, that gets pushed through the machine?
That's right, yeah, so it's extruded through the block where the paste is being loaded into, moulded and dropped through a roller which rolls the baits into a round shape. We can roll anything from on site a sort of 6 to 8 mil all the way up to a 40 mil bait. And then if you look on the left hand side, the blue conveyor belt is feeding the baits into the cooker, which is set on a timer depending on the size of the bait you're rolling. So this is simply the cooking process. The boilies go in one end raw, so to speak, get cooked and come out the other end with a nice skin to them and nice and firm. So once the baits come out of the cooker, they're brought through to this room just here. This is the drying room, and the baits are put onto the dryer, and we blow either cold or hot air through the baits depending on the time of year and the atmosphere to bring the baits down to a agreed percentage, moisture percentage.
Everything that I've seen all the way through is actually really precise, whether it's the flavourings, the colourings. You know, we expect there to be precision, but temperature modified air controlling.
Yeah, it's got to be consistent, and like I say, the quality of the bait's got to be absolutely bang on before it goes out the door.
And well, I noticed there's a few bags of baits down here as well.
Yeah.
And this is your quality control section, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's
or
actually
one of them.
over in my office, but the baits are collected here. So the all-around site from the moment the base mixers are made right through to the boilies here being taken off the dryer, and then when the baits are actually bagged, a sample is collected and brought to a quality control meeting every morning, where we check the quality.
Every morning?
Every morning. So everything that's been made on site gets checked before, at probably 3 different stages of the process, from raw ingredients, base mixers, your baits before they're actually bagged, and then after the bagging process.
Wow. So what's happening here then? This is the final stage of the process?
Yeah, this is the bagging line where all the products that you've seen being made basically get put into pouches and bags. Everything gets sealed into the bag across a check weigher just here, which basically makes sure that everything is the weight it's supposed to be. If it's not, it spits it off the conveyor, and the product will then get rebagged again.
And then it goes through onto the turntable at the end, where it's got a human check, and if it's right, it goes through, and if it's not, they'll take it out.
Yeah, so obviously you do the weight check just here, but this is for checking for the seal, making sure the labels are on straight, or it's got a label, you know, and anything that's not quite right will get picked off by the lads, and again failed and cut back out and rebagged again. And that's basically it. This is the finished product ready to go out to the shops.
You know, the most amazing thing for me there was watching the amount of attention to detail. There's nothing left to chance.
It really, genuinely, it was incredible. I used to make a lot of boilies back in the day when they were too expensive to buy, when I was a young, poor student. Oh, bless.
Yeah, you know how tight he is.
Steady. I used to make boilies all the time, and we put a bit of this and a bit of that. Yeah. And the attention to detail on such a big scale, there's no wonder that it comes out the same all the time. It's all absolutely fantastic. Really, really interesting. You know, that how do they do that? I was like a kid in the sweet shop, literally just walking around looking at them. However, we have got a challenge, and the challenge is now to see if we can catch on one of those very boilies. Yes, I grabbed some off the production line, and now we've got a catch on them. So, I'm fishing, and there is a very specific reason for coming fishing, because remember we spoke about boilies? Well, these here are the very ones that you saw on that production line, and the target now is to try and catch a carp on them, just to show they work. Of course we know they work anyway, but how good would it be to see the boilie going all the way through the production line and then catch on it? So I've come down to one of my favourite venues, just had a little look around. There's 1 or 2 carp in this corner, and I've got just an hour, no more than that. It's a real short session dash. So I've popped a couple of rods out on bags. One has got one of these on it. The other has got a little bag of these crushed up with a brighter bait over the top of it. So either way, it's going to be on this or over it. And I'm just going to keep having a look around the edge and see if I can catch one down there. Wow, that is absolutely flying. Come on. Fish on. Whoa, wow. Just tying in a bag up then, and it absolutely belted off. Oh, and I think that's another. Oh, would you believe it? You know what, when you're in, you're in. That's 2 at once. I have got an assistant here. Jack, come and grab. Not 1, but 2. And I'm just going to grab the landing net for the moment. A little bit of chaos. I'm over the top of Jack there. If you come underneath me there, son. Oh, you've got a landing net there. Oops, I'll hold that one up and then we'll see if we can get this one netted for you. Keep him coming. Oh, he's there. There's one. That's one in the net. Right, you can put that rod down for the minute, son. And we'll just keep an eye on this one for the time being. And he's in. Look at that. Well, there you go. 2 fish in the net in a matter of minutes, and that is carnage. And that's what it's like when you use the right bait. Well, the proof of the pudding, as they say, is here. And look at that, one for me and for Jack as well. Absolutely brilliant.